prices to the moon. The beers them waiting for the crash coming real soon. But the OG consultant watching, he's seen it all before. Over 40 years in the game, he knows the real score. Bull versus bear, a real estate fight. Peter Zalewski tell you who's wrong and who is right. In the Miami Condo investing club with no guess. He cuts through the noise and all of the mess. The Peter Zalewski Show. Big respect, OG in the game. Listen and learn the man's name. And up down. Peter Zalewski Show.
Happy Wednesday, Miami. This is the Peter Zalewski Show. It normally is a one-on-one conversation I have with somebody I think who is important that you need to know. This week, though, we're going to take it a little bit different direction. What are we doing this week? I'm going to take you along for a ride as part of my research for our upcoming tour of Coconut Grove. What we're going to do is we're going to play around with satellite images, and we're going to sort of shed some light onto the very unique and interesting history of what is Coconut Grove. All this information goes towards what we're collecting. We're creating a database of all the condo projects located in the Coconut Grove area. Right now, we casted a big net, and we're somewhere in the ballpark of about 200 condo projects. Many of them are 10 units, 5 units, 8 units, 30 units, nothing like you're going to find over in Greater Downtown Miami, where a typical building will have 3, 4, 500 units. These are smaller projects that are all situated throughout Coconut Grove. And in the course of doing all the research, I thought it might be kind of interesting to get into some of the satellite images in terms of where stuff's located, as well as some of the developers who in recent times have gotten actively involved in Coconut Grove. So this will be a ride along, if you will, doing the research that we do in order to put together some of our lists. And keep in mind, we have a massive database of condos. Most of them are all located east of Interstate 95, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. Coconut Grove and Coral Gables, we all kind of looked at from afar, but we never really rolled in and rolled up the sleeves and got into it, just simply because we didn't know how many units there were. It didn't really seem like there were that many. What I'm finding, though, after we did Coral Gables a few weeks ago, we came up with like 7,000 units in Coral Gables. Right now, we're already north of 2,000 in Coconut Grove as part of our research. All the research will be done in anticipation for Saturday's tour. If anybody's interested in the Coconut Grove market, which for the longest time has been the best condo market in all of South Florida based on our South Florida Condo Association Financial Cliff Index, but it's changing. What's happening? You're seeing a slowdown in sales, and the inventory is starting to build, and it's pushed it into a buyer's market. Now, when you get north of $1 million, it's the market really is starting to soften pretty rapidly in Coconut Grove, and this is all part of helping us to understand and quantify what is the Coconut Grove marketplace. So I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club, and I always do a weekday podcast at 4 o'clock, and this is no different. But instead of bringing on a guest and discussing something, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to sort of complement the research that we're doing right now to better understand the Coconut Grove condo market. Ultimately, what's going to happen with all of our research, we're putting it together into a big database, and we want to move towards rating condominium associations based on financial feasibility. Collecting all that information that's out there, putting it all in, and be able to basically identify every single condo. And you might say, well, Peter, why are you wasting the time? It's already there. Well, contraire, it's not there. A lot of the information that's out there, it's all based on certain condos that have a lot of velocity. It doesn't get into the nuts and bolts, all of the small little projects, or maybe some of the projects that are a little bit older, things like that. And that really is where the opportunity is. I would argue it being the ones that are not part of the mainstream. It's more so some of the unique outlier type of projects. And that's why we feel like Coconut Grove really kind of rolling up the sleeves and getting in there is going to give us a great perspective. Again, just like Coral Gables gave us a great perspective. So what I want to do now is I want to spend our podcast taking a look at what's going on in the Coconut Grove marketplace. I'm going to show you properties using satellite images. I'm going to tell you stories about some of them, and it'll basically help me in putting together what ultimately will be our list for Saturday's tour. That tour goes from 10 o'clock a.m. up until 1 o'clock. We're going to walk about 4 miles or so. We'll do it at a moderate pace. You'll have opportunity to take stops along the way. And all attendees are going to get a list of all the condo projects that we've been able to identify in Coconut Grove. I'll teach you how to analyze condominium projects. I'll also show you how to use data in order to identify which projects are in play and which ones are basically nice and firm. So it is a good time. It is some steps, and you'll walk away with a little bit better understanding of what's going on in the Coconut Grove condo market. Many people look at Coconut Grove and they sort of think it's a bohemian community, which it still is, but now it tends to be very wealthy bohemians, if you will, those people who can afford to be a little bit eccentric. And it's also dominated by single-family houses, but increasingly we're seeing a movement towards condominiums, bringing the condo lifestyle and all of the benefits and the luxury, bringing it over to Coconut Grove. And as that starts to happen, the whole Coconut Grove area is sort of changing, and as it's starting to change, we might be at the beginning of what could be in the future, a whole series of really high-end condominium projects. If the momentum can continue, we would sort of say that be cautious right now. Why? Because there was a tremendous run-up that occurred in 2021 and followed suit when people could come down here. They didn't have to wear a mask and they could work from home during the pandemic. What we've seen since then, though, is a pullback. One of the reasons for the pullback is some of the companies that had originally said you could work from home, they then told their employees, listen, we need you back up. It doesn't matter if it's JP Morgan up on Wall Street calling everybody back up to Wall Street and having them forsake or try to rent out, most likely at a loss, their apartments, and or a lot of the tech people who came from Silicon Valley and California who've now been called back to Silicon Valley to work on their stuff. Many of these people are trying to go ahead and sell their condos because rent, it's not going to cover the ultimate carry cost. So that's what we find ourselves in the situation today. And Coconut Grove is a very dynamic, interesting place that if you don't know, I would say I'd really highly recommend you sort of check it out because it's a lot of fun. It's also got some it goes back since the beginning of Miami. It goes back to when you had cultural zeitgeist, 1960s. You had a lot of people who were here, the hippies and the yippies. They ultimately ended up going out to California. Once they went out to California, it led to they were all part of this big music scene, whether it be David Crosby, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, people like that. So Coconut Grove it's a dynamic place. It used to be little bars and knick-knack stores and things like that. Now it's increasingly starting to get a little bit more regimented, a little bit silver spoon, if you will. And we'll see if it sticks, or we'll see if it always evolves like it's done forever and ever and ever. To kind of give you an idea, I think one of the best ways to sort of encapsulate what Coconut Grove has always sort of been is the King Mango Strut. It's an annual parade that goes on in Coconut Grove. It's been going on, I think, roughly since the 80s, and what it was is there were some people from Coconut Grove who were a little bit eclectic. They wanted to participate in the Orange Bowl parade. Back in the day, you used to play the Orange Bowl football game. It'd be played at night over at the Orange Bowl, the actual stadium, right? It used to stand where the Marlins Park is now, Miami Marlins baseball team. So I used to play there, and I think it was the day before that morning they would do a parade. So these guys in the Grove, they want to be in the parade. They were rejected, so they said, screw it. You know what? We're going to set up our own parade. And their parade was going to be satirical. So they would take a shot at everything that was going on in the Orange Bowl parade, which was more Chamber of Commerce. So the King Mango Strut was started, and since then it's really sort of become a legendary parade. Orange Bowl parade, it's gone by the wayside. It no longer goes on, but the King Mango Strut, it still goes on to this day, and I was out there this year to kind of watch it. It's always tongue-in-cheek. They take shots at everybody. Doesn't matter if it's local politicians, it's some sort of fad that's going on. It's national politicians. It's always, always, always a great laugh, King Mango Strut. And why do I bring it up? Because, again, I think it sort of reflects what Coconut Grove is all about. It's all about this bohemian type of aspect. It's all about checking power. It's all about pushing back on power. And ironically, a lot of people live in the Grove. They're the ones with the money. They're the ones who potentially could be making the decisions, but yet they're they're kind of pushing back at some of these real power brokers. Power brokers you might find in like, Palm Beach Island rather than a place like Coconut Grove. So let's go ahead. Let me share my screen. And when I share my screen, we're going to start our overall tour of Coconut Grove to give you guys some great perspective. And I think you're probably going to enjoy this. I'll be going around. I'll be hitting certain properties. And when I do, I'm going to be going ahead and giving some background, some history. Again, it's all part of the research for the tour that's coming up on Saturday. Remember, if you want information on the tour, go to miamicondo.club, or if you want to buy tickets directly, go to miamicondoclub.eventbrite.com. So let me share my screen and we will get started here. It's coming up right now. And where are we? There we go. And our screen is being shared. Now, what I'm using is the Miami-Dade County Property Appraiser Records. And if anybody hasn't used it, I highly recommend it. If you want to check it out, go to miamidadepa.gov, miamidadepa.gov. Basically, Miami-Dade County Public Records, Property Appraiser Records, if you will. So what we're starting off with is we got a graphic of what is City of Miami. You're going to see here, you got Miami Beach, you got the man-made island, which is Port of Miami. You're going to have Fisher Island. You'll have Virginia Key. We'll have the Causeway taking you into Key Biscayne. You got the Lighthouse Point over here. We're going to have the Bay. Down here will be Coral Gables. Over here is going to be Little Havana. We'll get into effectively where's going to be the airport. Airport will be like right just in and around here. And yeah, 836. So the airport's actually, it's going to be, it'll probably be right around here. Let me zoom in a little bit, make it a little bit easier for me to check it out. Where's the airport? There's the airport right there. Kind of give you guys some perspective. So what really is Coconut Grove? How are we defining it? Well, this is Key Biscayne. That's Port of Miami. This is going to be Brickell Key. Here's the Miami River. And down here is Coral Gables. So our definition of Coconut Grove is the Rickenbacker Causeway. That's this causeway here. Okay, it's going to go along Dixie Highway. Dixie Highway was the line, is the road that was based on everything that was forged by Henry Flagler when he took his train, his FEC rail from downtown Miami all the way down to Key West. So the route of Dixie Highway basically runs parallel and sometimes, parallel to where Henry Flagler's line went. So it went all the way down here. So the northern boundary is going to be Dixie. The eastern boundary will be the Rickenbacker Causeway, and then over on the western boundary, we're going to have Lejeune. Lejeune's going to be coming in at 42nd. So that'll be 42nd, and then we'll have the bay at the bottom. Now, when you get down here into the low part, this is 42nd or Lejeune. Give you guys context. Coral Gables High School is going to be over here. Village of Merrick Park will be over there. And right when we start to drill down into this area around Cocoa Plum, this would be Cocoa Plum, then you're going to have Gables Estates, stuff like that. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit, give you guys some context. There you go. You get a good shot of Cocoa Plum, and you can also see Lejeune. And then right in around here, you're going to get into what's the Gables and what is the Grove. And effectively, the city line will be somewhere in and around Prospect Drive. So up here, you're going to have Coconut Grove. Down here, you're going to have Coral Gables. So all of this is Edgewater Drive. Here we go, Edgewater Drive. So that's going to be condos and stuff like that. What we use basically to keep it simple, because the way the line is drawn, it's not necessarily perfectly aligned with streets. We use Battersea. Battersea Road will take you all the way through to Lejeune Road. So that's how it's set up. And then if anybody maybe needs a point of reference, there's a park right up here called Merry Christmas Park. And that should be, is that Merry Christmas Park? Let me see here. Bear with me. Where we get to Lejeune. Yeah, there we go. So Merry Christmas Park is going to be up here by the water management company or business for Miami. Where is it? Yep. Where the hell is the park? Okay, I'm not seeing it. So let's kind of get into what's going on here in the Grove. What I want to do is I want to start to the north. I want to start with some of the fat cats that are all kind of living up here, and then as we work it, we're going to work our way south. Now that you guys have a glimpse of what's going on. Again, easy way to remember it: Lejeune is going to be the western boundary, and then you're going to have Rickenbacker Causeway will be the eastern boundary. Effectively, the Bay will be the southern boundary, and Dixie Highway will be the northern boundary. So we're going to start off over here. We're going to start off by what is, and some of you may or may not realize, but there's actually a park over here. There's a park here called Ellis Wainwright Park. Ellis Wainwright Park. There you go. You guys get a real nice glimpse of it. So Ellis Wainwright Park is all part of the original Brickell extension. Remember, you had William Brickell, you had Mary Brickell. They came over here. They bought some dirt in and around 1871 or so. They contributed dirt ultimately with Julia Tuttle in order to get Henry Flagler to bring his train down to Miami. Miami was incorporated 1896. Ultimately, the land that the Brickells gave to Flagler, that went towards the train, and it primarily ran on an angle, and that is what led to what ultimately would become the train station. I'm giving you guys a glimpse. So the train would come in and around here, which is going to be downtown Miami. You'll get it'll be the Central Business District. You'll get a good glimpse of the courthouse, Dade County Courthouse. Right next to Dade County Courthouse is where the tracks were. So Dade County Courthouse is right there. And ultimately, this government center area where you're going to have Miami-Dade County Hall, you're going to have the library. That's pretty much where the train came in, and it was set there. It then would continue on and follow the Metro Rail tracks, which is effectively in and around up here. It would come down, and then as it came down, it moved, shifted over, and it would run next to South Miami Avenue. So if you guys ever take the Metro Rail and you're going from downtown Miami over to Coconut Grove or all the way down to Dadeland South, you're basically running on the Flagler track.